Today I'll be comparing two cameras. I'll be comparing the Osmo Action, the first edition, to the Insta360 X3, and I'll be comparing them in low light. I'll also be using my Sony A7iii III, which is the low light king, and well, we'll see which one is better. So currently all three cameras are stationary and all of them are manually exposed and the lowest ISO. On the Insta I'm using the log image picture profile and the official LUT that is available on the Insta360 webpage. And on the Osmo Action I'm using the D-Cinelike image profile and I'm manually color grading. Now the reason why I'm saying that all three cameras are stationary is because I'm using 1/50th of a second shutter speed, which gives me a little bit of motion blur. Now typically on action cameras you want your shutter speed to be at least 1/100th of a second because the cameras, as they are electronically stabilizing, need clear images with not a lot of motion blur in order to stitch them together and for the stabilizer to work. Otherwise, the stabilization just makes everything really soft. And the moment I will start carrying the cameras around, I will switch them to all auto exposure, which means that the shutter speed is going to go up as well as the ISO. Now it is getting darker because the clouds are here and the sun is setting. It is kind of midway into the sunset and we are having clouds, so you can see in the back that it's getting quite dark. So how are these cameras holding up? How's the stabilization? How's the clarity of the image? If I punch in, let's say to about 300%, you can see all of the noise and the lack of sharpness that is present in the video files. Now I did apply sharpness on both of these cameras, and on the Insta I have the internal, so the recording sharpness on the camera set to low because I think I can do a better job, or at least my Davinci Resolve software can do a better job. So that's why sharpness is set to low on the camera, and on the Osmo Action, well, I don't have the ability to control sharpness, so anyway. Okay, so let's do a vlogging test with all three cameras. Now you can clearly see that the Sony has the most trouble of stabilizing, and I am trying to walk very slow, but it's still, it's not a very good stabilized camera. However, the other two, the action cams, probably doing a good job. And on the Insta360 I'm using the 360 view, so I'm not going to switch it to single lens mode. It might be a little better, but honestly I bought this camera just for the 360-degree field of view, so that's the reason. For a single lens mode I have this guy over here. This is a weird test, I know, but anyway, let's sit over here. Now the really cool thing about the Insta, as I said, is the fact that I don't have to frame my shot. On this full frame camera I have to frame my shot every time, so if I misalign the shot I will not be in the frame, and on the Osmo Action as well. But on the Insta I can position myself anywhere. As long as one of the two lenses is pointing at me, I know I will get a cool shot and I won't get that seam in between where the camera stitches both video files together. Now it is getting darker and darker, and I think here you can really see the benefit of a full frame camera. I'm also expecting that the Insta is going to be a little bit better when it comes to dynamic range, because the sensor is just a teeny tiny bit bigger than on the Osmo. The Insta has 1/2 inch sensor and the Osmo has the 1/2.3 inches. So just a little bit smaller. But the Insta does have two sensors, so one in the front and one in the back, because it has two lenses. Alright, let's turn everything around a little bit like this. Yeah, the framing, the constant framing. I know that here I'm in frame. I think I can say I'm in frame like this. But this one is just, so many times I came home and my framing was off and I had basically no footage of me doing my photography thing because I've offset this camera, or maybe I've placed it and then moved or something like this. Here, however, I don't even care where I am in the shot. Currently, as I'm looking on the monitor, I'm way too low in the frame, but I can just tilt it up and down, left and right, zoom in and out. And of course on the Sony I have to be dead center because the Sony doesn't have a flip out screen, so I'm really kind of used to just looking directly into the lens. Okay, so let me switch to standard picture profiles on the Insta and on the Osmo. Okay, so I've switched to the standard picture profiles on the Insta. I'm using 1/50th of a second shutter speed and auto ISO. On the Osmo Action I've switched to normal colors, auto ISO and 1/50th of a second shutter speed, just to be fair. And on the Sony I'm still in the HLG, so my typical vlogging kind of scenario. So how does the noise control hold up with standard colors. Any sort of higher dynamic range mode also brings up the noise levels, at least it makes it visible in the darker area. So I know that the Osmo Action struggles quite a lot with that, and I'm pretty sure the Insta is struggling with that as well. Now, just to be clear, these two cameras are not meant for low light performance. They are meant to shoot outside in the sun, you know, in the snow where there's a bunch of light and shutter speeds can be fast, so that the stabilizers are working. But I'm just curious to see, is the Insta an upgrade or is it just the same as the Osmo Action? Maybe this will help you decide. Now, both of these cameras can shoot HDR, so high dynamic range video, although on both of these cameras this is not meant for low light. So you can see that the performance, well, it's probably worse than it was before, at least that's what I'm guessing. I know that the Osmo Action is going to struggle a little bit more, and on the Osmo you don't have the stabilization, so rocksteady is turned off whenever you're recording HDR. On the Insta, however, I have the full flow state, so horizon leveling thing that the Insta does very well. So yeah, HDR. And this is the single lens mode on the X3, which is now kind of comparable with the Osmo Action. I think the field of view is kind of the same. So on the Insta I have it set to wide and non-warped or de-warped, and on the Osmo it's just as it is. So this is how this looks. Oh yeah, better? Worse? I don't know. I mean, the noise level is probably the same on both cameras. Church bells. So many churches in our lovely country. Oh yeah, there's one. There's another one. And there's 3 more somewhere. Anyway, it is seriously too dark to do any sort of action camera recording, so please let me know down in the comments how you found the results of what you saw in this video. Is the Insta360 an actual upgrade? I mean, I bought it because I want to have a different way of filming myself. I already have the single lens Osmo Action, which is always going to be on my chest as I'm recording my photo shoots, and the Insta can now be placed anywhere and I don't have to think about the reframing. However, I will have to keep in mind that if it gets dark, I will have to just use my Sony full frame, which is awesome. So thanks for watching, please consider subscribing, hit the like button, and I will see you in the next video with Alex climbing over here. Bye bye.